Are you ready to unbox your bike from putting it into a box and flying with it to an adventure?
And what happens when you get back from an adventure and you go to unbox that bike and reassemble it and it's searched by TSA? Well, let's find
take
out.
a look. Hi, I'm Christina.
And I'm Eric. And together we are
Roosevelt's Ride.
So let's go ahead and jump right in and go ahead and see what the condition of our bike is after it was searched by TSA.
Let's party.
As you can see from the beautiful TSA inspected tape all over this box, it was opened by TSA. We have already cut the tape just so that we could open it up and take the bags that we had already placed in the box when we repacked them. But you ready to pull this bike out and see its condition?
Yeah.
Well, as you can see from this beautiful TSA inspected tape, our bikes were in fact inspected by TSA when they were on the return trip from Spokane, Washington. So you watched the boxing a bike video here, but let's see what it looks like when you get it back from your trip. Okay, well, it pretty much looks the same. Okay. Some stuff moved around a little bit, but that's all right. Let's see out. Ready to get this bike out?
Yeah.
All right, let's pull it out. There we go. Okay. Okay. Tire.
Pedals and inspection.
Yeah, and you can see the foam that we put in the last video about the bike disassembly. This is the foam that the bike was resting on. This was caused by the front forks. So, yeah. I don't see any visible signs of damage, but we'll see when we actually take the wrapping off.
Nice and greasy.
And I'm going to tell you real quick, the pull maneuvers actually worked really, really well. I made repacking the bikes up at our departure location way faster. All right, let's check these forks. So on these, because these are carbon forks, so you want to make sure there's not additional abrasions or whatever. There are some abrasions on it, but those were there before we left. So in all actuality, it looks pretty good so far. The biggest things you're looking for is any additional dents, weld cracks, frame dents, or also bent derailleur hangers, because that's pretty common when you fly with a bike. So another big thing you're really looking for is any signs of wear, tears, scratches, dents, nicks all along your tube. These came like that when I bought the bike, so I'm not concerned with that. But mainly a bent derailleur hanger. That's the biggest thing you're worried about with that rear derailleur. So I don't see any signs of it being bent. We'll see when we actually reassemble it and ride it. So the first step when I reassemble a bike, I usually like to just put on the front wheel. It helps stabilize the entire build as you're reassembling. So the first step I like to do when we're reassembling a bike is actually go ahead and put the front wheel back on. It kind of helps stabilize the bike. You will have to hold your handlebars at kind of an odd angle, but it does help. But just keep in mind, make sure when you put your wheel back on, you do have this little lever flipped up, so that way your brakes are wider and the tire will easily slip in. As you might remember from the disassembly video, I did put my riser stem on upside down, so that way it lowers the overall height of the bike. Now I'm going to remove the stem cap, removing the preload in the process, then also removing the clamps so that I can remove it, flip it back around, and then I'll put the preload back on first, and then snug up the clamping screws. It's also important to note you definitely don't want to over-tighten the top cap, because the star nut that's inside, if you over-tighten, it can begin to pull out, and then your head assembly will not function properly. In fact, it's unsafe to ride in that condition. So, before I start snugging everything down, I just need to make sure that my stem, my front forks, and everything is in line with the top tube. Which actually, that looks pretty good. I am just kind of eyeballing this. There are ways to that professional bike mechanics use to ensure that everything's in line. When you're on the trip, you don't have access to any of that stuff, so you do have to have a bit of a keen eye to ensure that everything is in line. It's imperative that everything's in line. This also helps maintain balance. Okay. But I'm also one of those people that like to finagle everything, so all right. I think we're there. So I'm just tightening it down just enough to get that preload on there. And I'm not going to final tighten everything until final reassembly. I'm just snugging it up. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the handlebars. Like you did with the disassembly, the next step is to remove the screws that we had snugged up in the disassembly prior to departure from our vacation location.
Yeah, vacation location.
Now that I have all my screws kind of pre-fit, I'm going to go ahead and snug them down because I use this as an opportunity to position my handlebars, and I like these to be as flat, maybe slightly up as possible because our wrists prefer that, ergonomically speaking. So I have my torque wrench set to 6. So that way I definitely don't over tighten any of the screws. And as you can see, I'm going in a star pattern. So I start here, go here, come back up here, and then end with final tightening down here. That's it. Sorry. So I'm just putting the final tightening on my stem cap and my clamp screws. And I'll tell you what, this Marque torque wrench comes in real handy. We've been using this since right before we went on the Allegheny Passage, and we take it with us on every bike trip. You can check it out on our video here where we give you a full review on this handy dandy little doodad. Then also, the other tools we also use the Pro Bike Multi-Tool, which we have a full review here where we go over all of its beautiful features and how useful it can be. It's real slim and it's real easy to use. And also, when you go on an airplane, the other tool we sometimes bring, especially on the Hiawatha, was a under 7-inch small driver. That actually came in really handy. So, check it out. And I do actually like to check the alignment from both sides. So I'll look at it from the front of the handlebars down and this way, and then I'll also look at it from the top down from this side of the bike, then also from where the seat post is going to rest, in alignment that way. Now you can't see it in the camera, but when you're disassembling your bike, or right before as you're disassembling your bike, it's a good idea to put little alignment marks. We actually have alignment marks that are on our stem and then also on our handlebars. And then there's just a small scratch that we put in here that we can align it easily with where Christina had it when she was riding this bike in the past. So that's really it. That way we can put the seat exactly where it was on the bike last time it was ridden. Now when you're re-putting on your seat post, it's also important, not just for that alignment mark that I mentioned earlier, but it's also important to get it in line with the top tube and the front stem. Cool. Pedals. Well, we probably wrapped them up more than necessary. However, we didn't want them scratching up, denting up the frame and all that, so that's why we wrapped them in foam. It wasn't so much to protect the pedals, because, well, at your feet, rocks, all that, scratch them up anyway, but it protects the rest of the bike. Now that we've unwrapped the pedals, I wanted to show you that these are an Allen key pedals, so you can, when you go to screw them back in, you can use a large Allen key that's usually on most multi-tools to tighten them up. They only have to be snug. You don't have to torque for Jesus, you know what I mean? Maybe I shouldn't say that. But anyway, that's really all you have to do. Now, if you don't have those type of pedals, you may have to take a pedal wrench with you, which adds weight, or swing by a bike shop and they can probably tighten down your pedals for you. And the last really piece to think of for reassembly is inflating your tires. We did hear from a colleague that's in the cycling community. In our packing a bike video, we talked about deflating your tires. That is no longer required. It's only if they're above 85 psi. So basically did it for nothing because we only run about 80 psi on these guys. But hey, better be safe than sorry. Now that we have the bike fully reassembled, we have the brakes put back into place the right way with that little thing flipped down. We have everything aligned the way we had it, because remember those alignment marks that we had here and here. And then we also had the seat post marked here as well. Now I'm going to take a look at the bike fully reassembled and just kind of pay close attention to detail. Make sure that, especially, there's no cracks in the seat tube here. And kind of look down to make sure there's no additional wear and tear, which the wear and tear that we have on this bike was already there when we bought it, so it's looking pretty good. You're going to want to look at welds down here on the bottom bracket, make sure you don't see any cracks, which I don't. Look up here where the top tube meets the seat tube. Kind of go up looking for dents. Don't see any. Look where the top tube and the bottom tube meet with the head tube. Don't see anything. And then where the seat stays meet the top tube and the seat post tube. I'm looking at those welds. I really don't see anything wrong. So I think we're good to go. We'll take one more look at alignment, looking down line of the bike, stream-wise.
And there we have it. The bike is back together. We're ready to get on the road and go for another trail near us.
So if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, where we can offer you tips, tricks, snack ideas, trail reviews.
All the partying that goes along with cycling.
Well, I'm from Roosevelt's Ride. I'm Eric.
I'm Christina.
And together we are
Roosevelt's Ride. We'll see you on the trail.
Take care. See you on your next adventure. That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Use that take. It was good. You're professional.